Hello, welcome to my cake kitchen. I'm Gladys, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. I also create baking tutorials live where we undertake a particular baking task, hoping to solve a problem, by which we also inform you with a reliable recipe that you can use in your home kitchen. We talk all things cake, buttercream, and everything in between. Except today, we are not baking. We're not doing the serious stuff because I have found out quickly when I come here and I get seriously baking, it can be hard to talk to me. So today we're doing an unboxing. We're talking cakes. It's Friday. I don't know where you are watching me from, but I'm still here in my UK-based kitchen. And between making cakes, talking cakes, teaching cakes, doing all things cake related, there are cake stuff too. And I love Amazon. Amazon are not sponsoring me, by the way. I just love the Amazon service, and I have some deliveries. And it's taken a little while. If you've been here, look, I'm a little bit confused. Is it Rihanna in the chat? Right, Rihanna, if I'm not talking to you promptly, I haven't forgotten about you. It's because I don't want to be seriously distracted. But if you leave me any information there, I will respond to it in due course, okay? But it's lovely to have you, and I hope you are keeping well. Kay, Chantilly, how are you? All right, these are my day ones and all the supportive people who come to the chat to keep me happy and engaged. How are you all? Hello, 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 hello. How are you all? And where are you joining in from? And how is your Friday? Happy Friday. It's an hour before midnight here in the UK. The irony is that I just noticed that my phone notification has just gone off. It's silent over here. And the Amazon Prime service, which I pay for on subscription, $8.99, has just come out of my account. So I guess it's worth that I'm still here talking about Amazon, right? But that is just by the way. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are. It's an hour before Friday is over. So happy Friday. Like I said, we are doing an unboxing. Behind me here is a tray, a 14-inch cake tin that I want to line and do bits and bobs, catch up with you, see what you are up to on your Friday. We can hang out. Before we get into my unboxing, if you've been here, you know we love tea, right? My cup says I run on coffee, but I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee. I don't know what. This is not to upset you coffee drinkers, my people. I'm not here to upset you at all. I love you all, but I don't drink coffee. I just like a cup of tea, and I like my cup of tea really strong. I haven't drunk water. Actually, I defer drinking the cup of tea just so that I can come and drink it on here. So I am making myself a cup of tea. So grab yourself a hot drink. And if it's Friday and you don't have much doing, join me. Let's talk cake. Let's unbox this stuff and let's chit chat. I have an hour before I go and carry on other stuff. If I'm able to line my tin here, I will come back in the morning and do a simple tray bake for an event at church. But otherwise, my day has been busy. It's been good though. And if it's your first time you see me here, hello, I'm Gladys. I love cake. Have I told you lately I love cake? And oh God, in my shorts shorts format, you will see it's popping off over there because I made a plantain cake, right? I showed it on here yesterday on the live, and it's plantain. I made a plantain cake. And if you don't know what plantain is, it grows. Oh, I don't want to have like cake in my tea. And it's plantain. Plantain is it comes from the banana sort of family. I call it the bigger cousin to banana. And I made it. It looks, I think the real one is like this. I'll show you. Yeah, here's the real one. And I made a cake version, right? Do they look alike? That's the real plantain. And That's Kyle. Thank you. I appreciate that. So yes, that's the real, but it's not banana. It's called plantain, ripe plantain for that matter. And then I made a cake version, right? And I cut it up. If you want to see more of it, I posted a video. I've posted 2 videos on shorts format, so you can see that over there. And I provide a bit of information about what plantain is about. Now, if you're not Caribbean or African or somebody who cares about plantain, you probably won't get the fuss. But the story behind how I ended up making plantain is simply because I what did I do? Well, I bought 4 plantain for 6 quid. 6 quid is £6 in UK money, right? So the Americans, you've got $1, $2. We've got £1, £2, and counting. So I got 4 for 6 quid, and 6 quid is about 6 quid, aka £6. Okay, and I think that's about $8 or $9 something there. It's less than $10. And I was so mad. I was like, why is this thing so expensive? I will make my own. Well, if you think it doesn't make sense, it really doesn't make sense, because I'm not going to be able to create everything on my own just because they're expensive, isn't it? Plus, the real thing and the cake thing are not the same, are they? Right. So, anyway, I just needed a justification to make a realistic cake. Anyway, so I did that because I had scrap cake. Now I've messed my hand. Okay, let's wipe my hands and let me go drink my cup of tea. Right. So, Silk and Cookies, Chef Dog. Okay, good luck with that. But for those of you just joining in the chat, well, whilst we're at it, I know we're just talking. Whilst we're at it, you can like the video so that YouTube know you're out here hanging out with me. And if you're a beginner who is just started your baking journey and you want some reliable recipes, buttercream and stuff, check the check the live format, because those are where I undertake full-on tutorials, like teaching sessions, and they are like teaching resources for you to check out. So do check those out. But I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. But we're not spilling tea over here. We know what that means. We don't do any of that. But when I turned on the live and I was in the background, I was just turning on the lights, putting up the lights around here just so that I can set up the lights properly. And I just remembered what happened this week about Shannon Sharp. Who was watching? Okay, let's go and unbox this thing. There's not much here. I ordered bits and bobs, and I started opening my box up before I realized that, okay, I might want to come here and unbox this. So who was watching? I mean, it was the hot news of the week, sort of, wasn't it? Right. I don't know. What was I doing? How did I come across it? It was so weird. Was I on TikTok or something? And then it was blowing up my TikTok For You page. I was like, what was that all about? So I thought it was kind of a joke, or yeah. And then next day, I tend to see bits of him on his sports show. What is it? Nightcap. So yeah, I saw him address it on Nightcap, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, that was real. I was kind of hoping that wasn't, but hey, Dolly, Kay, are you still here with us? And Rihanna, me and my tea. I love a strong cup of tea, no sugar in there. But that is by the way. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Kay. So, what is in my Amazon? Let's start here. Right. Some of them were delivered later. So, let's see. Right. This was, I say was. This is icing sheet. So, these are icing sheets. I actually have a wafer paper one. I started unboxing the packaging before I realized that, you know what, I might do well to bring it to you here. So yes, These are icing sheets, and if you don't know icing sheets are form of icing paper, if you like, but they're different from wafer paper, right? So these are the print quality for icing sheets are much better than wafer paper, and wafer paper is a little bit delicate depending on what they're made of. You have the wafer paper made from rice paper or potato starch, and they are a little more delicate when exposed to moisture. And of course, with cakes, at some point you have exposure to moisture either by contact with the cake or by the way you store the cake. That is, if the cake is put in the fridge. So I tend to use icing sheets a lot, and I'm going to be developing a few different tutorials following on from here, where I will make or derive simple decorated cakes using icing sheets. So stick around for some of that. But the first item here is my icing sheet that I got from Amazon for, I think, £21. It's £20 something, but I'll see if I can link some of the items here for you to see. Not that they will be of any use to you, but hey, you never know who is watching and how useful that may be to them. Of course, there is my pure vanilla, the 473 gram of pure vanilla extract. I used to actually buy these from Costco, but in recent times when I've gone to Costco, I couldn't find any. In Costco, they were cheaper. I think they were about $14.99, which is about, let's say, $16 to $17 for this amount. And it does really go a long way. Yes, Dolly, if you have questions, leave them in the chat and I will respond to them as quickly as I can. I can see a few questions developing, so I will look back at those and answer them all properly for you. So yes, there is vanilla here. This one was on Amazon for I think £25. This was the last time I purchased that. It was about £23. And the little cynical aspect of me is thinking, do they actually get them from Costco and then sell them on? Is that why we can't get them from Costco? I'm not so sure, but that is from Amazon as well, for almost £26, which is nearly £10 more than what I would have got from Costco. So Costco, what are you doing? Costco MK, I haven't been able to get some of these from there for a long time. Now, this is a long PME serrated knife. It's a serrated knife. So if you've been on the channel, serrated knife is for leveling and layering cakes. So even though I have a cake leveler, a serrated knife comes in handy. This is exclusively for leveling, but I did want to order a fine sharp kitchen knife, a long one that I would use for trimming down cakes. And a sharp serrated knife or kitchen knife, it comes in handy for when you're doing carving work as well. The short one tends to kind of get stuck when you're dealing with bigger cakes. I used to have a 12-inch knife, and the length of the knife was 12-inch, but the blade was about 9 inches. So when I'm dealing with a bigger cake and I need to get into it, it was really difficult to do that. So I picked myself a long knife that would help me achieve some results with cake decorating. So yes, these are just some basic cake decorating items that I picked up. Now let's see what else is here. Oh, I did pick myself a few spatula. Now, if you have, or if you know some good spatulas for use on the market, maybe recommend them or leave me some information in the link and I would be so grateful. The reason being, I am very particular about the kind of spatula I want. And maybe in the future, I might end up like creating a line of spatulas. Because first of all, I bought these ones from, I think, my local Aldi a little while back. And what happens is it's got the wooden part that is stuck to the silicone part. And over time, they come off. So sometimes when it's like this, not only is the wood exposure not safe, when liquid ends up storing in there and I find it a bit like weird. So once that happens, it's like, okay, this is not going to be any use to me, right? So this was the spatula that I loved the most. Guess what? This spatula came with my original KMX 330. Now this is an old type of Kenwood that I think has been remodeled, so it's not in circulation anymore. It's funny, it has the longest spatula in the mix that came with the mixer, but the various mixers I would purchase later had a rather flimsy spatula. I speak about my discontent with the spatulas in my reviews for my K-Mix mixer, which is a comprehensive review about one of my very favorite mixers, but I'm not fond of the spatula. So even though I don't use my original Kenwood anymore, this spatula came in handy, and today you get to find out the story about how the spatula looks a little bit odd looking is because it almost came in this shape, right? But it is very flat and flexible. It can get into the butter, and it scrapes very well. But obviously over time, because it's very thin, it wore out and began to crack. So then I cut the parts of the cracks out just to leave it steady, which is what is left me with this shape right here. But it is very solid. Even though it looks so small, it's very solid. But after a while, sometimes it's hard to swap from one to the other, especially with just these two spatulas and the flimsy ones. So I thought I'll pick myself some new spatulas. I wish, right, for a 6.2 liter bowl, this spatula seems too short, and I am guaranteed to have my hand scooping into the batter, which is annoying. So I wish, first of all, the head is wider or a little longer, and I wish the handle was also a little longer too. So I don't know whether I ended up shopping for a spatula that was not fit for purpose, but these are the only types I could find on Amazon. What I didn't like was the ones with the thicker ladle here. Like those I don't like. So I am very particular about spatulas. I don't know why that is. If you're particular about small tools and stuff, let me know. Oh, okay. So Dolly was asking a question about, Dolly, you were asking me about icing sheet. Do I print on icing sheets? Yes, I do. And yes, I think maybe later my icing, the printer, my edible printer, it's run out of ink, and I am not set up right. Otherwise I would have refilled the ink and done a print out for you to see, but the ink is somewhere. To do that would kind of almost like ruin the viewer experience for you, and it's late, and sometimes the ink does tend to leak a little bit when you're working with it, and it's late, and I don't want to be asked with that. But now that you've said, I will come back sometime to do that and do a print for you to see. So you were saying Dolly is saying you love your spatula. What kind of spatula do you have on there? I'm going on about spatula because the one with the Kenwood is the white one. Now I'm talking to Dolly. It's the white one. It's a little bit flimsy. I don't like it. But unless perhaps the new mixers have new ones, then yes, I want to hear all about it. So yes, these are spatulas here. And then we have some icing piping bags. Yes, I picked myself a couple of piping bags because I actually, if you've been on the channel, you'll find that I have struggled to pipe some intricate details in a first video, and actually in my most recent, which was a couple of days ago, I did it on a live. I struggle with piping because my hands are very shaky, and sometimes the consistency of the buttercream doesn't help. So I picked up some easy disposable bags just so that I can undertake some practice work, which hopefully should help the effort here for me. So there we are, some icing piping bags. And next we have some a, a pack of cupcake boxes, really. These are just cupcake boxes that I picked up with round inserts, which are going to be used for some corporate cupcakes that I am due to go out very shortly. Oh, okay. So it turns out Dolly is telling us in the chat that her Kenwood mixer comes with a gray spatula. So, oh wow, I want that kind of mixer. And then, and the last thing I got was a pack of square cake tins. I don't make a lot of square cakes, but making and ganache and square cakes can be extremely technical and difficult to master. And even though I don't make a lot of them, I can handle a square cake when it calls for it. But I just thought I'll pick up some bowls here, some square bowls, jet tin, so that I can bake some test recipes and also be able to use them to derive like serving guides and all other things. So a baker's pans are more like their treasure, if you like. I could have purchased a different brand, like this 14-inch, I think is the, let's see what brand it is. The brand of tins is important to the quality of bakes sometimes, but it's not all that. There are ways around it. I developed my own recipe so I can optimize certain things for better results for myself, but tins are an investment. So where possible, invest in some good tins and you realize that it will do you some good. It will conduct your heat better. It will give you better results to the bake. Because when you use cheaper tins, these are cheaper tins, by the way. I'm just letting you in on the intention. I bought them because I'm not going to be using them largely and they're more for practice work. But this brand, let's have a look. I remember these were a solid brand. And just this tin, I picked that one alone for, I think, is this £61 or something? That was a while back in, I think it's in 2024 years ago. What brand is that? Okay, Silverwood. Okay, so this is a Silverwood. This is one of the it's kitchenware and baking products, and they are a real good brand name. And I see the difference when I bake cakes in that it bakes evenly, the heat conducts well, and the crust of the cakes do come out very well. Whereas when you use less when the quality of the tins are not great, right, it does affect the quality of the bake. So that is just something to also bear in mind. Yeah, so that is just by the way. So essentially that is where we are. I have all of these elements here. Right, let me just try and tidy up. So what I need, I'll take out, and what I don't need, I'll put them away. And if you're just joining us here, we are not doing anything serious today. You know, I do have a supportive community here, and half of the time we chit chat, we catch up, and we have a laugh and do stuff over here. Except today, I am not doing any of that. Today, I'm just trying to finish my unboxing, and then we can go do something useful with ourselves, isn't it? What are you doing this Friday anyway? I suppose if you're in the UK, it's late now, and if you're watching me, it's either you're home by yourself or doing something. And if you're not in the UK and you're up and about somewhere, different parts of the world, what exactly are you doing? Finish your day at work? What's up? Let's see. Okay, right. So, what am I doing over here? Right, there's quite a bit to get through, isn't it? Unboxing. Right. Now, don't you go buying stuff that you don't need, right? I need all of these things that are over here. Okay? Oh, Kayla and Liam, hello. I remember you from yesterday. Thank you for being here today. Right. So, we are done with the unboxing here. You want to say hello to my newly minted moderator, Kayla and Liam. She's in the chat. Now, we're here with a cup of tea. I did tell you, you grab yourself a hot drink, and there's not much here. Right, Dolly, you're in bed now. Okay, you're not baking. Hello. Aren't you supposed to be running a business? Hi, Kayla. Since your name is Kayla and Liam, do me a favor, drop in the chat whether you're the Kayla or you're the Liam one. But hello, beautiful. How are you? Right. Today we are not baking at all. Today I just thought it's Friday. I've had a long day. I had some unboxing to do. And these are things I would normally be doing on my own anyway. So I thought I'll come out and hang out with you guys and chit chat, drink my tea while also doing some baking related stuff. So we have just gone through the list of things I have. We've just gone through a list of the things I have, but I am just trying to line a 14-inch tin here, right? Because I will need it for baking in the morning anyway. So that is what I am doing essentially. Here we are. Yep. So if you're just joining me, welcome to the stream. We are not baking today because when I'm seriously baking, it can be hard to kind of even stop and talk. So, oh, okay. Okay. All right. So, right. There is Dolly in the chat. Dolly is telling us Dolly is a baker too, and she is a business owner. She's baked all her cakes already, and she wants to get into bed now and be ready tomorrow when she will get her cake sorted for collection, I believe. So that's the first part. The bottom is lined. What I need to do is get this one. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to create my brain is frozen. Ignore me. You'll see. I'll show you what I'm doing. I can't think straight. I can't think straight. Well, these are for lining the tin anyway, because I line my sheets, my tins for good reason, but I've also now come to accept that I do it because of habit as well, because there are different ways you can stop your cake from sticking to your pans, but I do it out of habit. So here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Right? So, as it is Friday, what has your Friday been like? What is something nice, or what is something you would like to share about your Friday? My Friday has been actually really productive. I had a few serious things to do today, and I have done all of them, except in the evening, I just thought, let's come and hang out, chit chat, and have a laugh, right? So, are you having a good Friday? Not Good Friday in Easter, but what's your Friday been like? Let's hear it in the chat. Share some of your happy moments today. Were you kind to your neighbor? Or were you lovely to your co-worker? Or are you being nice right now? Oh dear. Let's see. Oh gosh. Now this is harder than I thought. Oh, okay. Kayla and Liam. Right. You're in New Zealand, correct? I could totally botch this up. Well, our moderator, Kayla and K and L, it's Saturday in New Zealand. Can you imagine? It's wow. It's Saturday somewhere else, and we're still in Friday. And Dolly has been baking, doing school run, and cooking. Dolly, what have you cooked today? Did you cook rice and stew or fufu? Now I'm all up in my people's business, right? What have you been cooking, darling? Let us know, and please dish out my plate. And oh, Kayla, this is so sweet. You must feel so fulfilled with the little ones, 2 and 4, but you must have your hands so full though. That must be so busy for you. Wow. No. Can I be honest? School runs. No, it's all right. I mean, gotta do what you gotta do, isn't it? Oh, they're fighting. Now, that is serious. Who is winning? No, I sound like a toxic auntie now. No, let the kids have fun, okay? Right, where are the... Okay, all right. Okay, let's start here. Right. Oh my God. In a household where there is jollof rice, there should never be brownies anywhere, because at this point, you're trying to make the kids go to sleep on a very full stomach, Dolly. Dolly is telling us what she cooked. Dolly cooked jollof rice. Now catch this. Jollof rice with fried plantain in itself is like, it's a vibe, okay? It's slapping. A Ghanaian woman cooks you jollof rice, you are going to just be transported into food coma, okay? And then she had the nerve to go and make herself some banku. Those of you who don't know, banku is like maize meal. It's fermented maize meal that is stirred together, and it cooks into a ball sort of thing. Yeah, I'm Ghanaian, so that's a Ghanaian delicacy anyway. So she said she made banku and tilapia, grilled tilapia or fried tilapia. Girl, I think we should kick Dolly out of the chat. She's out here bothering us with her food. Yeah, I'm coming for dinner, Dolly. We are all in your house right now. Okay? Dolly is over there. Dot, I call her. Dorothy. Dot is over there cooking all this good food. And then she has the nerve to add brownie to it. Like, girl, what are you trying to do? Like, seriously, what the hell are you trying to do? Are you trying to kill us? Oh, those kids are so full. They can't even complain. Those kids, anybody says, I'm hungry, they're like, huh? We can't relate. Dolly, is that you? That is just by the way. So anyway, wonder what I'm doing here? I'm trying to line this tin, okay? So I am greasing it with some fat first, which is margarine in this case, and then I'm going to be putting that in the bottom to stick it. Okay, there we are. And yeah, and then let's go. Right, so if you're just joining us, happy Friday. We hope you are having a lovely Friday. You want to show some love to our moderator, Kayla and Liam, who is keeping you all welcomed and interacting in the chat. Dot, who is out here bothering us with all her good cooking whilst we are all hungry. And me over here doing the most. But even though I love to bake, I'm not baking tonight, okay? What I'm doing is for baking in the morning. I have a tray bake that I need to complete in the morning for church. which I am hoping to do before church time. But otherwise, yep, just lining it as part of an activity here. Ah, right. Kayla says she could never get the circle right to line the tin. For me, you know what I do? I simply use the tin to trace the bottom. I'll show you what I do. Maybe that should help. There are so many techniques that are shown on the internet and different things. Those things never work for me, right? So I end up doing my own thing that works for me, my darling. So don't worry about it. If what you find online never works, just find a system that works for you and just run with it, mother. Okay? But I'll show you what I do for round ones. And for this one, I literally eyeballed it. And yeah, it's not perfect sometimes, but it does the job. And oh God, that's a 14-inch pan. And that is the largest I will go for baking. I don't think I even want to bake a 14-inch cake, but because this is a tray bake, it doesn't require any more. I actually will be baking a banana cake tomorrow. That is just by the way. So let's wow, Dolly, you do quite a lot of things, don't you? Jeez. How do you ever have time for yourself, girl? You're out here doing all the business. What do you call it? Dot is telling me about things that she does. She teaches people to cook, and she makes clothes too. Looks like you are doing all the things a creative will do. But the question is, how much time do you have for yourself, darling? God, that is super productive of you. But ish, I can't. My dear, me, I do one thing, I'm tired. I want to go and sleep for the rest of the day, and I need 2 weeks to recover from a day's work. This life out here wasn't meant for me, okay? I was meant to just be a rich auntie and to do the bare minimum. And then I'm a cake maker who spends long hours making cakes. I'm like, whose idea was it? Can we do something else? Okay? So all you hard workers out there, God bless you. Okay? Like, I really work hard. Whew, my dear, you want to tell God to pass me some of that? Okay, that is just by the way. So I wanted to show Kayla how I make my bottom circle. So let's get a 7-inch, a 6-inch. So Kayla, this is for you. This is what I do. I don't do what the internet tells you to do, cut it and fold it and do it. I simply just get the sheet, I stick the pan on it, and then I cut around it. I don't even trace it. If you trace it, it gets harder. So I stick my hand in to hold the tin in place. And for the roll, sometimes I use something to block it from rolling back and forth. And then I use a sharp thing to go around. And that's it. Got myself a round circle. Does that work? Yeah? Kayla. So this is... yeah, so when I do that, I do a few of them that I keep for use later. And then the paper doesn't go to waste. Yeah. So there you have it. There. And then you see the sheet has holes in it. So then if I have more to cut, I just keep doing that just so that I can get a few. But if I don't need any more, I just cut this out. And that's going to waste. And then I roll the sheet back and it goes back in its thing. And that's it, really. So yeah, that's what I do anyway. It works. Because the one that you fold and then you cut it, I never get that right. So a bit like you, I struggle with that. So you're not on your own. If right. So if you have some cake decorating questions, like buttercream questions or simple cake hacks and stuff like that, just leave them in the chat. I can answer them quickly, and then we can probably move on to do other things. Oh, well, yes. Dolly is telling us in the chat she traces a circle in her sheet before she cuts it. Yes, when I draw the circle before I cut it, I find that it's a lot of work. Keeping the pan in the middle and cutting it like I just did is the best that works for me. Because when I draw it, it means I have to trace the cut round the drawing. And sometimes it can be difficult to get it right. So, no. Um, Yes. Um, Kayla is telling us about her struggle with you know, if you watch baking hacks and baking tutorials, there are tips about how you can get the perfect circle, and you're told to kind of fold it, measure it, and cut it. It never works for me, you know. Some hacks never work. You just have to develop what works for you, you know. So for instance, I saw a hack on the internet that says that when you put the butter in the pan, cover it straight away with a foil cover, and it traps the heat. I tried it, and then my cake didn't turn out great. The cake turned up super moist, and the texture was close to fluffy bread, and I didn't like that. But you know what? When I actually bake the cake and say it's baked the entire time, yet the middle is still uncooked, when I've put a foil on top, it comes out great. But you know, so not all the hacks work as they appear to be. Sometimes what is missing is context and the actual information. So yeah, I'm just saying not everything works as you think it would. And if it doesn't work, just understand it may not be your fault, and that maybe there's a lot of information that is missing from the hack, and it's lacking context. So bear that in mind. In the meantime, if you have further questions, leave them in the chat. Dolly is asking us a question. I'll read that out. She says, the buttercream you did, I realized you did the 1-to-1 ratio. Does the buttercream not taste more butter? No, not at all. Not at all. If anything, it has a better mouth feel and it's more balanced, because if you watched the video, we're talking buttercreams. I made a buttercream recipe on here, and my American buttercream recipe actually is the 1-to-1 ratio. Now, I have spoken a lot about the subject of buttercream. There is no one buttercream that is fit for all cakes, right? And even in the realm of specific buttercreams, you can adapt them to suit your own preferences. So for filling cakes, for instance, I prefer French buttercream for filling cakes, French and Swiss meringue buttercream. But I cover my cakes in ganache, right? I don't use American buttercream a lot. But in recent times, I thought I will try. I have the American buttercream recipe done to a T just for my own preferences. And because, like I said, I don't cover my cake in buttercream, the 1-to-1 ratio is optimized for mouthfeel and taste. Now, if you wonder what the 1-to-1 ratio is, for most American buttercream, the recipe calls for 1 part of butter to 2 parts of sugar. So, for instance, if we had 250 grams of butter, ideally you should be going for 500 grams of icing sugar. Now, whilst that will give you a sturdier looking buttercream, it is very sweet in terms of taste and mouth feel. It's heavy and it's super, super sweet. Now, there are ways that you can adapt American buttercream. And yes, American buttercream does have some markers that does not make it much of a favorite on the market because it is very sweet. It can be gritty, but it's also very beginner friendly, easy to make, and all of that. The reason why I adapted mine to one ratio is that whilst the 1 to 2 ratio, which is the 1 part of butter to 2 parts of sugar, is the standardized recipe for filling and covering cakes. I optimized for the 1 to 1 ratio simply for mouthfeel and taste. I don't use it to cover cakes, except in recent times I have attempted to use it to cover cakes. And it has turned out well, but it doesn't crust easily. That is the downside. And if you were making buttercream for a warm day, I wouldn't recommend the 1 to 1 ratio. I am obviously in England where our seasons tend to be cold mostly all year through, even if it's not cold, winter cold, right? Our seasons are not as warm as a tropical weather would be. So I have derived those buttercreams for my own preferences. And I'll caveat that by saying if you do tend to go for that recipe, just know that it also has downsides like most other buttercreams you will come across. However, the 1 to 1 ratio is not as battery as you would think at all, Dolly. So the most recent recipe that I made, follow the recommendations I made there. First of all, get your butter to a soft consistency, not melted consistency, but spreadable consistency. Whip it with a whisk for maximum 3 to 4 minutes, right? Take the whisk off, add your sugar, and swap to a paddle attachment. Mix on slow so that the sugar can come together without the sugar going everywhere. And then once the slow kind of mixes the sugar and the butter together, turn your mixer up to high speed for another, let's say, 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. That will bring it to a total of, say, 8 minutes, and then completely turn it to slow on your lowest speed, just so that you can cream it to take out the air bubbles. Add a pinch of salt to kind of balance the taste a little bit, and you have yourself American buttercream that will do the job of filling into cakes. Isn't overly sweet, and it should be all right for you. And I hope that how long do you have to leave ganache on cakes before you have to cut into it? It all depends. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about ganache on cakes at room temperature? Are you asking because of the food safety recommendations? What are the specifics here? Because you can keep ganache cakes refrigerated for an extended amount of time, and you can even go as far as freeze it. But if you're asking how long do you have to leave ganache cakes before you have to cut into it, it depends. I am suspecting, clarify your question for me so I can answer it accordingly. But I suspect that your question is because ganache contains cream. Right. In the UK, fresh cream has a shelf life of up to about 4 hours in cakes or from outside the fridge. So if you're using fresh cream, say for cream cheese and fresh cream, you have up to about 4 hours out of the fridge, and that cake should either be used or considered not safe to eat. But if you're using said fresh cream in if you're using such I'll look at the question again, but let me just answer this quickly on the assumption I made. If you're using such fresh cream in your ganache, remember that fresh cream is boiled anyway, so it takes away the freshness. It's literally pasteurized, the fresh cream. So you can leave it at room temperature for an extended amount. But let's look at the clarifying aspects of the question so I can and it cracked. Okay, right. So how long, so I'm just asking further follow-up questions so that we can identify the specifics of Dolly's need, and then we can answer that. So Dolly said she took her ganache cake out because I took mine out, and when I cut into it, it cracked. Right. So first of all, how long did you take it out for? Because if you took it straight from the fridge to put it out, um it would have frozen solid or chilled. Don't forget, if you're using a 3-to-1 ratio for white chocolate ganache, it will when it's in the fridge, it sets literally solid. But if you're going to cut it on immediately after, then of course it is going to crack. So a good tip for cutting into ganache cakes is to get yourself a very long kitchen knife. Obviously, I have ended up ordering myself a serrated knife here. But if you're cutting into a ganache cake, a kitchen knife, a long kitchen knife with a sharp blade is the first step. Dip the blade in hot water. We're talking hot boiling water. In this case, I normally have a jar like this height. Fill the jar up with water, dip the knife into it, and let it sit for a few minutes so that the blade is warm. Wipe the blade clean and then cut it into the cake. You get a very clean cut, and the slices are cleaner and more set. You get more slices out of it. But if you don't do that and you go straight into the ganache cake with a knife that is not um, seasoned or optimized for cutting clean slices, you will crack it, because the essence of using ganache is stability, and the ganache, a 3-to-1 ratio, will guarantee some stable solid looking cake. But when you come to cut it and you touch the knife cake with a sharp a blunt blade that is also cold, it means you are going to apply so much pressure it will crack the cake. So you that's something to note, if that is any helpful for you. Okay, Dolly, I hope that answers your question. But like I was saying, how long did you leave your cake outside for before you cut into it? Because that also matters. That said, Kay is asking me, do you ganache your cakes cold or room temperature? Do you mean the cakes itself? Like, Kay, clarify that for me. So my cakes, do I ganache them? So clarify your question for me, but I'm just going to go on a whim and answer it the way I understand it. So my cakes, first of all, to ganache cold cakes, you have to be careful. There's a series of things you have to understand if you're ganaching your cakes or covering or frosting your cakes in any way. For instance, my cakes are not usually very cold. First of all, so I'll talk you through the process if it will kind of give you some context and some information about what I do. So, for instance, when I bake, right, some people choose to bake and freeze and do all of that. I have never had a need for it, even when I am at my busiest season, right? So I bake and the cakes remain on the countertop maximum 24 to 48 hours. Depends what recipe it is though. So for instance, let's say we're talking my vanilla cake. If the cake is due, today's Friday, I have a cake, say for instance, going out Monday. I will bake the cakes perhaps today or tomorrow, Saturday. If I bake it on Saturday, the cakes remain on the countertop. And mind you, I do my baking sometimes mostly in the morning unless I've left things too late. So let's say I bake and leave my cakes on a countertop maximum 24 to 48 hours, no longer than that. And that's also for good reason. On the countertop, they are not exposed. As soon as the cake comes out of the oven, I leave them to settle for about 10 to 15 minutes on the countertop so that they gain form. And then I wrap the warm cake quickly in cling film and leave them on the countertop. What happens is that the warmth from the cake that is supposed to evaporate gets trapped back in and helps to kind of keep the cakes moist. So, and of course, if you've tried my vanilla cake recipe, you know the vanilla recipe. All my recipes are optimized for moisture anyway. So the cakes will turn out great. You have no problem. You can freeze them within that time anyway. It makes no difference whatsoever. I just choose what and when and how I want to do it. So I leave the cakes on a countertop for 24, 48 hours. I unwrap it. So at the point where I unwrap the cake, I level and begin to layer the cake. So when you've seen me on camera, I layer the cake. So when I layer and then fill the cake is obviously at room temperature at that point. So I then leave the filled cake, and we're talking filled with buttercream or secondary fillings, and then I put that in the fridge for maybe half an hour, just about enough time so that the buttercream sets with the cake. Bring it back out and then trim and then go to ganache the cake. At this point, I guess the answer is that yes, I do actually ganache my cakes at room temperature, essentially, except for the part where the cake goes into the fridge to set the buttercream. Because if the buttercream is not set with the cake layers, you're going to have shifting and sliding, right? So I guess that's a long-winded way of answering your question, Kay, but I hope that gives you some context and clarity to my process. That said, the ganache itself, I actually have a process I never break. I have to make my ganache at least 24 hours earlier. I never make my ganache the same day and use it the same day. I think, from what I understand, there is a science to the mixing of the ganache, which is the emulsion of ganache. You have to leave it to set. I don't know. I haven't actually looked into it, but I've never had to make ganache in the morning, especially for white chocolate ganache, because it tends to be a bit funny. So I make it like 24 hours earlier, leave it on the countertop to set. And then the next morning, depending on what the weather is, if it's a cold winter's day in England, you wake up to the ganache literally frozen, even at room temperature, right? So then I pop it in the microwave, bring it back to spreadable. Not too spreadable, because when it warms up in the microwave and you can see the shiny, oily film on the ganache, it's broken and it's melted. Doing anything with it won't be any useful. But I think I'll come back in a later time to come and do a demonstration on ganache, a whole series, just so that you can understand how I use my ganache. So yes, the cake is at room temperature except for the part where it goes in the fridge to set first, and then it is covered in ganache, and that is just about it. Okay, so the question that I answered about cutting into ganache cakes, Dolly took the cake out of the fridge and then went straight to cut it with her knife. That, for any cake, will crack. Buttercream cakes will survive, but not for ganache cake. Because the whole point of using ganache is to make sure the cake is solid and holds form. So if you go straight in with a knife, you are going to crush the cake. So yeah, I'm not surprised that has happened. And Kay, I have answered your question, so I am happy about that. For the rest of you, if you have further questions, let me see if I have missed any questions over there. And Kayla and Liam. Kayla, are you all right? Okay. So those are the questions I've answered about cake decorating. So if you have any more, leave them in the chat. And you're welcome, Dolly. Now you better save me a plate of jollof rice and tilapia, okay? You owe me big time. Okay? So you just make sure you save that for me. But otherwise, yeah, we've done the unboxing. I've answered a few cake questions. Oh, let's... Okay. Okay. I think I want to make myself some fried plantain. Okay. Look, the plantain is broken. Okay? The plantain is broken. The plantain that has been causing a fuss in the it smells like cake. I like the smell of cake, but yeah. So yeah, we are back with the... I am in Northampton, so depending on where you're traveling from, Nottingham is, say, just about an hour's drive away from Northampton. So if you are coming from, say, somewhere, if you're traveling from London, you will pass by Northampton before you get to Nottingham. But if you're traveling from the north part of, say, if you're coming from Manchester, then you will get through Nottingham before you get to Northampton. So I wonder where you're traveling from. That's I'm talking to Dolly. Dolly is headed somewhere here and hopes that she might stop and visit us over here. That would be lovely. It would be lovely to kind of meet up sometime. But anyway, that's me and my cup of tea over here. So I think it's nearly midnight. So I think, Dolly, you need to go sleep.